Golf is many things. It's a game of frustration. It's a game of plaid pants. It's a game of tiny balls and vast landscapes. But for decades, a rumor has circulated about its name, a neat, tidy little explanation that your uncle probably told you at a barbecue. You know the one. They say golf is an acronym, that it stands for Gentlemen Only, Ladies Forbidden. It's the ultimate boys club origin story. It paints a picture of stuffy Victorian men in smoke-filled rooms trying to keep the women folk off the green. But it is also completely, utterly, 100% historical nonsense. It's an urban legend. In fact, not only is it not true, but the word golf predates that ridiculous acronym by centuries. Welcome back to Phrases Explained. Today, we are teeing off on one of the most popular sports in the world. If golf doesn't mean gentlemen only, ladies forbidden, where on earth did this weird little four-letter word come from? The answer involves medieval trade routes, bored Scottish kings, and a linguistic game of telephone that spanned the North Sea. Let's dig into it. To understand the word, we must first understand the game. And the reality is humans have always loved hitting round objects with sticks. It's practically a primal instinct. Long before Tiger Woods, the ancient Romans played a game called Paganica. They used a bent stick to whack a leather ball stuffed with feathers around the countryside. Across the globe, around the same time in China, the Song Dynasty was enjoying Chui Wang, which literally translates to beat ball. How clever a name is that? There were also versions in French called Jeu de Mail and versions in England called Kambuka. But here is the crucial distinction. Most of these ancient games were about hitting a target above ground, like a tree stump or a doorway, or just seeing how far you could whack it. None of them had the defining characteristic of modern golf, putting the ball into a small hole in the ground. That specific form of torture was invented way later. So we have a general activity, stick and ball, that existed basically everywhere for basically forever. But we are in search of the word golf, and for that we have to look across the chilly waters of the North Sea, and not towards Scotland. We're gonna get there soon enough. No, instead we start towards the Netherlands. In the Middle Ages, the Scots and the Dutch were tight. They were major trading partners. They swapped wool, fish, and apparently they swapped sports too. The Dutch played a very well-loved game, often on the ice during the winter, called kolven. In kolven, the goal was to hit a ball to a stick in the fewest strokes. It was incredibly popular. Now, look at the equipment they used. The Dutch word for a club or a bat was a kolf. We're getting close, aren't we? Linguists are about 95% sure that this is the smoking gun. This is the ancestor of our word. But how do we get from kolf to golf? Well, it's a classic linguistic game of telephone driven by accents. Imagine a Dutch trader shouting about his kolf on a windy Scottish pier in Aberdeen in the year 1400. The Scottish ear hears that hard K sound and softens it to a G. They also had a tendency to drop or swallow L sounds in the middle of words. Think of how the Scottish word for gold is often pronounced gold. Over about a century, the Dutch kolf morphed into the Scottish vernacular golf and then golf, and finally settled into the standardized spelling we know and love today, golf. The word, it came from Holland, but the game as we know it, well, that is pure Scottish. Let's learn a bit more about that. While the Dutch were playing on ice or city streets, the Scots took the concept to what they affectionately called the links land. This is the sandy, useless ground between the ocean and the arable farmland. Ever wonder why golf courses are sometimes called links? Well, there you go, a 2-for-1 word origin video from Phrases Explained. You're welcome. This geography is vital. Did you ever wonder why golf courses have sand bunkers? Well, it's because the rabbits burrowed into the sandy Scottish soil. Early golfers just played around the natural hazards that the rabbits created. So the Scots are now obsessed with this new game called golf, and they are playing it on the coasts. They are actually betting money on it, and it's actually becoming a problem. How big a problem? Well, believe it or not, it started threatening national security. The very first time the word golf appears in a written historical record is in 1457, and it's not a rule book for a new sport. It's a ban. Yes, a ban. King James II of Scotland was preparing for war with England. which was a super common hobby for Scottish kings at the time, he needed his soldiers to practice archery, for war. But instead of heading to the archery range, everyone was heading to the links to play golf, or what they called football, which we now know today as football or soccer. The king decreed that football and golf needed to stop. Stop playing these stupid games, they are unprofitable sports, and practice killing Englishmen with arrows instead. Guess what? It didn't work. They had to ban it again in 1471 and again in 1491. Eventually, the royals just gave up and joined in. Just over a decade later, after the third ban, the royal treasurer's accounts show King James IV actually buying golf clubs and balls. He got hooked. Even Mary, Queen of Scots, was famously criticized for playing golf just days after her husband was murdered in 1567. Come on, Mary, too soon. By the 1700s, the word was firmly established. The game found its spiritual home at St. Andrews, today one of the most famous golf courses in the world. It was here that they standardized the game. For instance, why 18 holes? Well, because at St. Andrews, the way the land lay, it took 11 holes to get to the far end of the course. You played them out, you turned around and played them back. That was 22 holes. But in 1764, they decided that the first 4 holes were too short and scrappy, so they combined them into 2. Now it was 9 holes out and 9 holes back. That dropped the total from 22 to 18, and other courses just copied them. It became the global standard. So the next time you slice your drive into the woods and mutter a 4-letter word, remember the history of this other 4-letter word that you're playing. It's not an acronym for excluding ladies. It's a Dutch stick filtered through a Scottish accent, played on a rabbit-infested coastal land that was so addictive, kings tried to ban it 3 times before just giving up and hitting the links themselves. If you enjoyed this deep dive into the rough, please smash that like button. It really helps the channel. And subscribe, please and thank you, so you don't miss our next episode. And while we're chatting, are there any word or phrase origins you'd like me to dig into? Let me know in the comments below. Your suggestions are a huge help, so fire away. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.